Hi, I'm Liz Larson with Cognomovement Systems, and you're watching me here. If you're watching me here on the blog, you'll know who I am. If not, I am the co-developer of the Cognomovement system with the founder, Bill McKenna. And I discovered a new word, and I want to share it with you guys. And it's one of those things that helps explain something that we have been experiencing lately in session and in classes that we were explaining as timeline shifts, and they still really are timeline shifts. What I mean by timeline shift is a person experiences a deleting of a program using Cognomovement, and then all of a sudden it appears as though they're on a brand new trajectory, a brand new timeline, where life looks different like instantly right after. So I'll share with you the new word and kind of the concept. And it's one of those things that explains everything about our perspectives and a lot about relationships. So, you ready for this? So, the new word I learned was scotoma. Have you ever heard this word? I've heard it used in several different ways, but I'd never heard it used quite this way before. So, going around the internet right now is this whole idea that there's this color blue that we can't see anymore because we don't have a word for it. Um, it means that we can't see things that we don't have a meaning for, or more specifically, we don't have the word for. It also means essentially kind of a blind spot in our thinking. So, this is what's so fascinating to me. Do you ever remember hearing the stories of the native peoples in Mexico who couldn't see the ships, the Spanish ships that were coming in because they had no frame of reference for them? So, for a period of time, they were invisible because the people had no way to um, put them into the framework in which they could understand. When they learned what they were and saw the people and understood they were ships, then they were clearly visible. So, this is kind of that idea of the scotoma. It means something that we cannot see, that our mind cannot see through our eyes because we just have no idea that it exists. So, what in the world could that possibly have to do with relationships? Well, this is the most exciting part to me. So, in Cogno Movement sessions, we found that people will have a session around a relationship. We delete the pattern out of the person who's in the session's physical body. And then when they leave the session, they go home and they'll tell us that the person that they had the session about is now a whole new person. They're doing something completely different. It's like they've miraculously changed. And it appears that they have. So it appears that they're on a brand new timeline, like they've walked into a time warp where their spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or brother or sister, whoever the relationship is, boss even, is now a different person. However, this word scotoma kind of helps describe what's happening here. It's that before the session, you had blinders on, literally. Lots of times we find that the eyes don't even want to move past here. So, where the eyes don't move, neither does the brain, neither does the imagination, neither does, I can't talk, neither does any perspective. And also on top of that, we delete the feeling pattern around the person in question, around the problems in question around that person. So when they leave, their blinders are off. This that that word, that scotoma, is out of their vision now. And what always existed, the person that they're in relationship with, is now visible to them. So here's the other piece of that. The brain is constantly, the mind is constantly trying to make us right. That's the other piece of that. So the person who was talking about this, Tomo, was also saying that it's that same idea when you have your glasses on your head and you're running around the house saying, I can't find my glasses. I can't find my glasses. Well, the mind should know that they're on your head. It should be able to feel it, except that it wants to match what you so strongly believe that the glasses are missing. Have you ever actually been on your phone and looking desperately for your phone. I mean, maybe that's autobiographical, maybe that's just me. But it's that thing, like, it's in my hand. I can see it. I'm looking at it, and yet my brain says I can't find it. And so until the person on the phone says, you're on your phone, oh, now it's obvious. So it's that idea that there's a blind spot. The mind wants us to be right. So in relationship, things happen, right? Incidents happen. People act like jackasses, whatever. And then our mind starts ruminating about that. But it's more than the mind. It's not all in the mind. The body feels it. The body feels injured or offended or hurt, right? Our feelings are our body, and we feel hurt. And so we start this pattern where the brain says, oh, that hurt your feelings, that injured you. Well, let's make up a story about that. They're a jerk. They don't love us. They don't like us. They think we're less than them. They're feel superior. Whatever the story is, the mind makes up a story about it. Now, remember we just said that the mind wants us to be right. So it keeps matching ideas that support that that person's a jackass, or that person doesn't like us, or that person thinks they're better than us, right? The mind keeps trying to match our feeling belief. So we form these scotomas. We form the ability to only see what our mind believes is true about that person. So maybe, it's your boss and everyone else thinks they're amazing and they just can't see how terribly that person has treated you. That's because your mind is matching only what you believe about that person, and everybody else, well, they don't have that problem. So they see them for what they are. So this mind-body pattern that's formed to make us right about that person now has created blinders where we can only see that about them. And if it's our spouse, what a terrible thing that we can only see their faults, that we can only see the bad things they've done or perceived bad things that maybe our mind made up about a perceived injury. Think about this, how often somebody says something that you misunderstand. They didn't even mean it that way. It still hurt your feelings. The body still takes it as an injury and responds. And then the mind makes up an idea about what that means. Then it gives us a blind spot for anything else that may happen. It's a protective pattern. However, the most amazing news is that we now have the technology to delete that pattern. So another way to say it is to delete that belief system. But we're deleting it from the body, the mind-body pattern. We're deleting it from the body, so then the mind no longer cares. If there is no emotion, if there is no feeling in the body, the mind literally forgets the idea. It stops trying to match the story that the feeling in the body is telling. This is so fascinating, well, at least to me, that how many areas are there in your life where you have a feeling about it and the mind is just matching. The mind is making up a story about how you can't, how you shouldn't, how you can't afford it, how you aren't good enough, smart enough, whatever it is. How many of those are simply that idea of the scotoma, that where you have a blind spot, where all the possibilities are literally available, but you can't see it because your body keeps having the same sensation about it, which has the mind making up stories about what that means. And then the body feels more, and then the mind says more, and the body feels more, right? So the minute we can delete that pattern from your body, you now have the capacity to see all the possibilities, everything that is now available to you, which you just couldn't see before. So to me, this is really, really fascinating. If it's fascinating to you too, join us. We're going to be doing a Cogno Quantum this Tuesday night. And then following that on Wednesday night, we are doing a relationships cleanup series for December. Relationships is this week, and then next week is going to be food and cravings. So, where in your life, what relationship do you have where, after what I just said, you might suspect that you have a blind spot? Well, maybe you don't, because your mind is trying to match all the places where you're right and they're wrong. But what if you did have a blind spot? Would you be willing to delete it, knowing that when you do, what you're going to be able to see is the real truth of the situation? You're going to be able to see what everybody else sees in that person. You're going to have the capacity to see all of the person and not just this one perspective that your mind keeps trying to match. Would you be willing to do it? And if you were, what would it be worth to you to have the fullness back in a relationship that you had once had? What would it be worth to you to know, like if it's your boss, what an amazing person they really are, and what else they have to offer or teach you or share with you, or what kind of a friendship could you form if you did not have that blind spot and you did not have your body constantly trying to make you right about it? So if you're curious about this too, and you want to make real change in the session, we're changing it in the session. Join us this week for Cogno Quantum and the relationship cleanup, and see what you can open up, see what worlds are available to you after. Again, I'm Liz Larson with Cognomovement Systems. We will see you guys all there for this fascinating idea and to see what else is possible in your world. Okay, guys, talk soon.